All right, we're rolling. Everybody having a good time? Isn't it ironic how much these messages overlap? Nobody even coordinates. Just shows if you're doing the right thing, it's going to come together. I'm really excited to introduce our keynote speaker for today. Brian Brush is a 26-year veteran of the fire service. His experience spans from rural volunteer to metro-sized departments. He is a training chief for the Midwest City, Oklahoma Fire Department. He's a member of the FDIC Advisory Board, an FDIC hot and classroom instructor for more than 10 years, and a contributing editor and author for fire engineering. He has a master's degree from Oklahoma State University School of Fire Protection and Emergency Management, and is a graduate of the Executive Fire Officer Program. Oh, Keith, now, man, Keith Stake is awesome, and he is representing us well. All of this stuff ties together, this research. And Brian Brush started this project, Firefighter Rescue. And when I saw this thing, I just went berserk because nobody was tracking how many saves we have, right? So now we got UL doing it. We got all these different organizations doing it. I blew this guy's Facebook page up and I didn't even know him, right? I'm just sending him everything. And then I finally figured out he was already getting it from another feed. But Brian, I'm proud to introduce you, brother. Our keynote speaker, Chief Brian Brush.
Dude, this is unreal. It was 14 years ago, I sat right there in this audience for the first time. I remember the feeling. Chief McGrail, your message washed over the whole room like a wave of motivation. It was like nothing else I'd ever experienced in the fire service before. And then the next day, it was Ray. Keep fire in your life, baby. I've attended 12 FDICs since, and I've been out there to experience this morning gospel every year. To be standing here, trusted with a few moments, the collective attention of our fire service is an incredible honor. 14 years ago, I never would imagine this. Being a keynote instructor at FDIC was not one of my personal goals, not something I was working towards. Not because I didn't see it as an accomplishment, but because I didn't see it as even being possible. I'm not here in this moment because I feel ready or because I feel worthy. I'm in this place right now because someone else believed that I was. And that is my message today. The faith of others in you, it's not pressure, it's power. But before we get too far into that, there's something else I want to explain. As someone who's been in this audience for years and is now standing up here, I can speak with absolute clarity that it's not about what's on this stage. It's about what's in this room. On this stage is one opinion, one background, one experience, and one view. In this room sits at least the last 5 keynote speakers, and without a doubt the next 5. Our legendary past and our brightest futures. The pride of standing up here is great, but is pale when compared to sitting shoulder to shoulder among the rows and rows of fire that are in this room. In this room are opinions, experiences, and backgrounds from coast to coast, spanning multiple generations. It's unfortunate that these factors are often leveraged to sow division. It's critical that we say, not us. The citizens we all swore to protect deserve a fire service that works with and for one another, joined in one mission, not separated by our many differences. This is a reminder and a reset to everyone in this room, watching online or putting on the uniform tomorrow. The world knows us as one, and that is firefighters. To them, when we are in service, we are non-political, non-judgmental, physically and mentally prepared to put the needs of others ahead of ourselves. More than any other skill performed on the fire ground or service performed in our community, it is the long history of firefighters collectively demonstrating strong values, high ethical standards, and selfless service that has built such a faith in us. You've heard it a lot. Faith. It's just one word, but it is belief. It is trust. It is hope. This is one of the most meaningful images to our profession that I have ever seen. Taken by a firefighter, Gabe Angemi in Camden, New Jersey. He recognized what this captures: a window of a home set deliberately to display symbols of faith. The hands of prayer and a child in the arms of a working firefighter from a long-faded Tot Finder sticker. Consciously and subconsciously, every second of every day, people place their faith in firefighters for protection. They believe in you. They trust you. Your presence in their cities, neighborhoods, and most tragic moments brings them hope. Their faith in you is unquestionable, as is mine. I believe in you. I trust you. Your presence in this room in this moment brings me hope that as long as great people are joined together in mission, great things are possible. I ask every single one of you right now, take 1 second. Think about those who believe in you. Their faith in me is unquestionable. It's not pressure, it's power. Knowing they trust me when I am unsure of myself is the difference between giving up and going the extra mile. Okay, I got 14 minutes left. I better start the keynote. 2023 marks an important anniversary in our fire service history. Seriously, though, acknowledging it here at a keynote at FDIC is critical to recognize the impact and reflect on our progress. It was in the late 60s and 70s our nation was facing an escalating fire problem. While the American Fire Service was well established at the time, it was mostly operating independently. We were not necessarily divided, but we were certainly not collective. It is estimated that at the peak of what was called the war years, our nation suffered more than 1 million residential structure fires and over 12,000 civilian fire fatalities in a single year. As I said, this was estimated. At that time, there was no national reporting system to know this for sure. What we did know was that on a daily basis, the front pages of newspapers across the country displayed that parts of our nation were suffering tremendous physical and social destruction by fire, and it was becoming unacceptable. We faced a difficult question. Why are we experiencing a third world fire problem in a first world nation? And at the time, there was no answer. The public pressure and accountability to the problem could not be avoided. Those in positions of leadership and influence knew we were losing more and more Americans to fire every year. And if something wasn't done about it, we too may lose their faith in us. It was time to face this with humility and the admission that the efforts of the past were no longer meeting the need and that lives were in the balance. This did not divide our fire chiefs, commissioners, and elected officials into blame. This was viewed as a challenge, a great responsibility that they all shared, and it fired their resolve, leading to the establishment of the National Commission of Fire Prevention and Control. Faith in a mission is what joined them. Faced with an immediate need to stop the fire problem from continuing to get worse, a new goal was defined: reduce the losses our nation was suffering by fire. With that, they set out to address it with a new and aggressive approach. For years, fire service leaders, congressmen and women, scientists, academics, and manufacturers all worked together diligently. Faith in the efforts of each other built them. It was May 4th, 1973, when the commission published America Burning. This seminal document was both blueprint and a challenge to the modern fire service. Faith in this plan is what moved them. America Burning was the catalyst for the Federal Fire Protection and Control Act of 1974, which funded and established new objectives and benchmarks for the fire service. The mission is stated clearly at the top: reduce losses of life and property. And at the bottom is the challenge: the losses our nation was suffering from fire were unacceptable to the Congress. Those who made up the Commission of Fire Prevention and Control defined a mission, unified efforts, and provided purposeful direction for a modern fire service that has lasted 50 years and beyond every one of their lifetimes. They shifted the course of the national fire problem at an unimaginable scale. Even with an ever-growing population, home fires have been reduced in our nation from 1 million in 1970 to just around 350,000 a year today. A small body of determined spirits, fired by an unquenchable faith in their mission, can and repeatedly alters the course of history. This famous quote from Gandhi defines the impact of America Burning and those who work together on it. They truly altered the course of our profession and the impact of fire on our nation. Look at Gandhi's word choice: unquenchable. An unquenchable thirst cannot be satisfied. An unquenchable fire cannot be extinguished. As remarkable as the efforts and results of the last 50 years are, they are plateauing. If we are satisfied with them, what will fire us going forward? I told you what I believe. I believe it's in this room. In this room is the small body of determined spirits of today. In this room are those whose passion for the job is a fire that cannot be extinguished. In this room are those whose thirst for knowledge, skill, and improvement cannot be satisfied. In this room is where the work to define mission, unify efforts, and provide purposeful direction for the next 50 years begins. The public's faith in firefighters is unquestionable. Is your faith in our mission unquenchable? The progress of the last 50 years is amazing. Unfortunately, the brightness of success can create blind spots. You see, risk is balanced by two weights: frequency and severity. While our nation is suffering fewer fires, those who suffer a fire aren't suffering any less. We've made great strides in addressing event frequency, but we have done very little to address event severity. Much like our predecessors, today we too face a difficult question. Why, with such great strides in technology, training, staffing, and standards, has the fire service made no notable impact on the severity of fires occurring in our communities? It is believed by some that there's no answer. What we do know is that if something isn't done about the rate in which we lose Americans to fires, in time, they too may lose their faith in us. If all we can show is that our services reduce fires, then in time, we too will be reduced. Like those before us, we in positions of leadership and influence must face this question with humility and the admission that some of the efforts of the past are no longer meeting the need and lives are in the balance. 50 years ago, our nation faced an escalating fire problem and flames were the enemy. Today, we face an escalating exposure problem, and the passage of time in the fire environment is the greatest threat. In the 1970s, they had very little information. There was limited data, and we relied on estimates of how many fires and casualties there were. But today, we got this at our fingertips. Resources and interventions to make an impact on fire victims were extremely limited. Today, we have the tools to communicate faster and more broadly than ever before. We are better equipped, oriented, and prepared than we ever have been, and our victims have greater access to greater care. Our problem was once material. Today, it is existential. The pressure and push for the next 50 years will not be from the outside, in the headlines or on Capitol Hill. By the numbers, our fire problem is declining. Our calls for better equipment from vendors, better information and data from institutions, training, education, standards, they've all been answered. What we need is all around us. What is missing is that fire of mission inside of us. The way I see it, over the last 50 years, we've made a great knockdown on our fire problem. In the next 50 years, it's time to make a move and get to work on the inside. The fire service has proven it can reduce loss. Now is the time to show that we can save more. In the next 50 years, we must demonstrate we are a service of action and execution in our operations, not just prevention. From searching the fire floor to transfer of care at the emergency room door, the compass of our operations must be set to improving outcomes. Faith is fleeting when things are going well. But in the face of a challenge, the need for it becomes clear and the power of its strength grows. We must be challenging ourselves and each other to identify how today's technology, training, staffing, and standards can impact fire severity. Faith. It is belief. It is trust. It is hope. Faith doesn't just reduce loss. Faith saves. The public places their faith in us, that we exist to save them. That is not pressure. It is power. We know the fire service saves lives, but much like the fire service 50 years ago, news stories and press releases of these events are primarily independent, and we have failed to make centrally collecting it a priority. Or maybe I should say until now. It was 10 years ago when a seed of discussion inside our fire service grew into mission. A small body of determined firefighters were not satisfied with just hearing about fire losses. They wanted to know more about firefighter successes. This joined them in a new mission to collect information on the rescues of civilians on the fire ground. Over the next few years, their work together built faith in each other, strengthening their power as a team and forging a plan. In 2016, the Firefighter Rescue Survey was launched. For the first time, a platform was available for our fire service to report our wins, not just our losses. Over the last 6 years, the Firefighter Rescue Survey has collected the operational details of how, where, and when of over 3,000 fireground rescues of civilians by firefighters. This even includes some post-removal patient care interventions. A small body of determined spirits, fired by an unquenchable faith in their mission, has produced a body of work that has never been seen before. The Firefighter Rescue Survey so clearly displays the life-saving efforts of firefighters that it should inspire and move us all. It certainly inspired and moved me. I was amazed at how much there was to learn from the information they had collected. But knowing it was a voluntary reporting system, only capturing a small percentage, I began to wonder how many civilians are rescued by firefighters every year. I worked through every search engine, USFA, NFPA, and IAFF report I could find, but guess what? There was no answer. For a profession whose priority is saving lives, I was not satisfied that we had no record of lives saved. As a part of a research project for Oklahoma State University, I was able to record and verify the rescue of 881 civilians on the fire ground by American firefighters in just the first 90 days of 2021. In case you're on the truck, that's an average of about 10 a day. Direct follow-up contact with these departments showed that 70% of those civilians were still alive. Think about that. If this small sample was to be extrapolated, it is possible that over 3,500 Americans are rescued by the hands of working firefighters every year. And about 2,400 of them survive. You may be thinking that this can inform our risk-benefit analysis because now we know the benefit to our risk. Nope. Remember, the needs of others ahead of ourselves. This is not about our risk. This is about the benefit we provide to our citizens. Our mindset and our mission must be that 10 times a day, the benefit of a trained, equipped, and willing firefighter gives an unprotected civilian a chance at surviving a residential fire. Firefighters don't just reduce loss. We are much more powerful than that. Firefighters save. We hear a lot about database decision-making today. I think we are capable of much more than that. Why would we set out just to make more informed decisions when we have the opportunity and the ability to use our data to validate faith? Many civilian fire deaths occur with no interior firefighters or even organized fire services available. If we aren't there, we don't have the chance to make a difference. A rescue, by definition, means there was a victim in harm's way and a fully equipped, trained, and willing firefighter present, committed to using themselves as an intervention between threat and hope. Citizen safety has been correlated, but lives saved can be counted. The idea that making a rescue is just doing the job has not been doing the job. Making a rescue is the ultimate demonstration of us getting the job done. If it isn't us who reports it, records it, and displays it, who will? I don't think our value can be correlated. I know unequivocally that our value can be quantified. This picture shows that our citizens believe we will be there to save them when they need us. Our work, when reported and counted, proves that we are. I believe this. I trust we can do it, knowing that we are closer than ever to using metrics that match our mission brings me great hope. Now, I have a favor to ask you as I close this up. I will never get this opportunity again, and this may be the last time I get the chance to speak to you directly. So if you would please stand for this final message. I want to remind everyone once again that it's not about those of us on this stage. It's about what's in this room. The keynote, it's just words in a speech. The key to our future is in your actions. The pride of standing up here is great, but it is pale when compared to the power among the rows and rows of fire, shoulder to shoulder, now standing in this room. To the small body of determined spirits assembled here today, may the knowledge that firefighters are the difference between life and death validate your faith in our mission. To the recent retiree, probationary firefighter, company officer, or senior man, all joined here together, build your faith in each other. Everything you represent gives our citizens greater hope. May you feel that power, so we are so moved in everything we do as an effort to give them a better chance. It is both my challenge to and my prayer upon you today that when you leave this room, that both your faith in our mission and the unquestionable faith of others in you make you all unquenchable firefighters. Thank you.